Dear students, welcome to the economics class. Today we are going to study about poverty. What is poverty? We are going to know what is poverty. Okay. So, chapter 4 poverty introduction. In previous chapters you have studied the economic policies that India has taken in the last 7 decades and the outcome of these policies with relation to the various departmental indicators. So, in our previous lessons we were studying about the new economic policy after 1947. What are the changes occurred in our economy? What are the new steps our government initiated for the ultimate development of our economy, especially after gaining independence. Okay. So, we can see the providing minimum basic needs to the people and the reduction of poverty have been the major aims of independent India. Yes, of course, Britishers were ruling our country. During their rule, India experienced poverty and the economy was not in a right position, not in a good level. So, what happened in 1947? India got freedom. After gaining freedom, Indian economists as well as Indian administrators, our Indian government wants to change the lives of people and wanted to bring overall development in our country. Of course, the economical development, the productivity we wanted to increase, the infrastructure development we wanted to do, everything will happen only when we have proper economy with a proper system. So, that is why Indian government took the initiative to implement a new economic policy. In 1991, India's new economic policy introduced. Before that, in 1947, you know that when India got freedom, at that time also our Indian Prime Minister as well as the other administrators decided to change the lives of people. So, that is why they planned such a strategies in India, mainly the 5-year plans, etc. Their ultimate aim was to remove the poverty from the people. Okay. So, in independent India there would not be poverty. That is why they worked for removing the poverty. They implemented or started 5-year plans. The pattern of development that the successive 5-year plans envisaged laid emphasis on the upliftment of the poorest of the poor. What happened? The ultimate aim of the 5-year plans were to remove the poverty. They also wanted to, our administrators also wanted to uplift the people's situation. Okay, integrating the poor to the mainstream and achieving a minimum standard of living for all. Of course, every government wants to give better to its people. The same thing happened in India too. After gaining freedom in 1947, Indian government also started 5-year plans in order to achieve the economic development. Okay. So, their ultimate aim was to remove the poverty, integrate the poor into the mainstream and achieve a minimum standard of living for all. Minimum standard of living means what? We wanted to provide better education, of course, education, then every citizens must have proper houses, then they must have basic meals, actually food. Okay, 3-time food we needed to provide to our people, that also. So, it was a great challenge for Indian administrators after gaining the freedom. Okay, in 1940s, around 70 years before, it was a great challenge. Now, you see a lot of changes you can see in India before, but it was not like this. We can move on to the next point and understand what is the other thing. While addressing the Constituent Assembly in 1947, see, the first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru addressed our Constituent Assembly in 1947. Then he said, Nehru had said, this achievement means India got freedom, the independence, is but a step, an opening of opportunity to the great triumphs. Triumphs means victory, success and affluence, etc. So, we wanted to bring lot of success, affluence in our country. So, in his in his speech in a Constituent Assembly in 1947, Jawaharlal Nehru had said, this is an achievement. We also wanted to bring lot of opportunity to the great triumphs and achievements that await us. Lot of changes is going to happen, lot of affluence is going to happen in our country, but therefore we needed to do hard work. Of course, we needed to implement a lot of strategies. We wanted to work for the triumphs, success, affluence, the ending of poverty and ignorance and disease and inequality of opportunity. These were the challenges and these were the triumphs or the success we wanted to achieve. Okay, the first Prime Minister emphasized all these topics. We got freedom. That is an achievement, of course, but the freedom alone won't work. The people need proper houses, proper employment opportunities, people need proper development, then people need basic amenities and infrastructure development. That is what actually the Prime Minister emphasized. The ending of poverty. Poverty we wanted to end. Ignorance and diseases and inequality. Inequality of opportunity we wanted to remove. So equality we wanted to bring, equal betterment we wanted to provide to our citizens. So that is what actually, okay. I trust you understood this point. What did our Prime Minister emphasize? The Prime Minister emphasized that our country must attain success, overall success in every level. The overall success in every level we can attain only when we remove poverty. Poverty when we can remove only when we implement such a strategies that by which we can increase food production in our country. Okay. We also the same time we also wanted to remove the ignorance. Ignorance can be removed only when we give proper education to our people or citizens. Then what else we wanted to do? Better health facilities. Then only we can remove disease. Then and social equality we wanted to bring in the society. All these things India wanted to attain. Okay, it was a great challenge to our administrators in those days. So all these points I trust you understood. Now we can move on to the next point. However, we needed to know where we stand today. Poverty is not only a challenge for India, as more than 1/5 of the world's poor living in India alone. See, lot of poor people are living in our country. So of course, India is the second largest populated country in the world. So more poor people and more wealthy people are also living in this country. Okay, so a lot of changes we wanted to bring in our country. So around, but also for the world, in the world where about 300 million poor people are living. 300 million means 1 million is 10 lakh people. Okay, like that 300 million poor people are living in this world. So to remove the poverty is a great challenge. The world needed to work on this. Every country must work on this. That is what actually India also need to work, because 1/5 of the world's poor live in India. 1/5 of the world's poor live in India. That point you need to remember. So therefore India needed to work very hard on this issue, this topic. Okay, people are not able to meet their basic needs. Poverty has many faces. So of course, poor people are not having any basic needs. Basic means, as I have told you earlier, that we need to provide better education, food, then their proper house, then proper dresses, etc. they must get. So what is happening? Poverty has many faces which have been changing from place to place and across time, and it has been described in many ways. Of course, poverty means, you know, that even in America too there are, we say America is a developed country, but there are poor people there when they compare with the other neighbors. Of course there are. So when we compare with others, some are poor, some are, you know, very wealthy. But always the poverty is there in the society. But the basic things one must get. Basic things means what? The basic thing is that actually at least one time food, two time food or three time food they must get. Okay, at least one time food one must get, then only they can live on this earth. Then another thing is that actually one must have proper dresses. Okay, then one must have houses also. So anyway, we wanted to remove the poverty from this world actually. Therefore, we all need to work hard on that topic. Then poverty is a situation that the people want to escape from it. Poverty is a situation that every people wanted to escape from it. So poverty is a call to action. We all need to work to eradicate the poverty from the society. For the poor and the wealthy alike, a call to change the world so that many more may have enough to eat, adequate shelter, access to education and health, protection from violence, and a voice in what happens in their communities. Of course, the world is facing so many issues. World is facing. Okay, the poverty is there. We needed to provide adequate shelter. Shelter means houses. They wanted to live, sleep. Then we wanted to provide access to better education. Everyone must get education. Education is a birthright. We needed to provide better education to every citizen of our country. And health, proper health facilities we needed to provide. That is why our government is providing better health facilities in every village. Already our government has started public hospitals. Okay. So then public health center, that is also known as PHC. Okay, the protection from violence, safety must be there. We needed to ensure safety to our people. Then violence and a voice in what happens in their communities. So see, so many social issues are in our villages or in our urban areas as well as in our villages. Okay, so we wanted to raise voices for that. Many issues are facing. People want to raise their issues, their voices. Then only it would be addressed. Mothers must hear the voice of the people. Okay, the urban area is there, remote area is there, so villages are there. So they have so many troubles, and we needed to provide basic amenities to them. Okay, I feel that you have understood this point. I trust you understood it well. So here what we were discussing, we were discussing that more poor people are still living in India. We wanted to eradicate the poverty, remove the poverty. Okay, that is a social stigma that we wanted to remove. Not only the poverty, we wanted to give better education, better health facilities and protection from violence as well. Now move on to the next point. To know what helps to reduce poverty, what works and what does not, what changes over time, poverty has to be defined, measured and studied. Very thoroughly we wanted to study about poverty, and we wanted to manage the poverty, and we wanted to escape from poverty. We wanted to give better education, then better employment opportunities and better health facilities to our people. That is what actually we wanted to poverty has to be defined. It has to be defined when we do the study on it thoroughly. We have to understand what are the troubles we are facing, how to eradicate the poverty. Then we wanted to measure the poverty very well, and we wanted to study it. This means a very deep level of understanding we needed to develop, and we also wanted to find the proper solution for removing the poverty from the society or from our country. And even experience, sometimes poverty we needed to experience, then only we understand. Of course, our country experienced poverty many times. Now we know what is poverty. That is why our government wanted to address poverty or manage poverty and eradicate poverty from the society. That is why they made a lot of strategies. From the first 5-year plan onwards, India government is implementing so many strategies to overcome this issue. Okay, so now it has to be looked at through a variety of indicators, levels of income. See, levels of income. Of course, when we wanted to study about poverty, of course we also wanted to know their income. Okay, if there is income and consumption, if you wanted to consume something, of course you need to buy it. Okay, for buying what you need to pay the money. Without money you cannot live nowadays in the world. Okay, so what else? The income level we wanted to increase. The income level can be increased only when we provide better employment opportunities to our people. Okay, when they have income, then only consumption will take place. Social indicators and indicators of vulnerability to risk and socio-political access. So many issues we wanted to study. We wanted to study, observe and address. What are the social issues, political issues? All those things are actually, you know that political issues can also bring poverty in our society. Of course, the government must implement proper strategies, proper economic policies and proper developmental programs in the society. Then only the villages, our country also get prosperous in a very level. Then only we can overcome poverty. We also wanted to increase income level of people. That will happen only when we provide better job opportunities and developmental programs. We also wanted to improve our industrial sector better way. Okay, I trust you understood this point. Now we can move on to the next point. Who are the poor? This is a question actually. Who are the poor? You would have noticed that in all localities and neighborhoods, both in rural and urban areas. Rural area means villages. Okay, both in rural and urban areas, there are some of us who are poor and some who are rich. Some are rich and some are poor. I have already told you that even in America, we think that America is a developed country, all people are wealthy. But when we compare some people with some other people, some are poor and some are wealthy. Always, everywhere, these poor and wealthy people are in the society. Okay, so you would have noticed that in all localities, in every situation, in everywhere, all localities and neighborhoods, both in rural and urban areas, there are some of us who are poor and some who are rich. So rich and poor people are everywhere. Okay, so the differences you can see among people always when we compare their wealth. Okay, so pushcart vendors, you know that some vendors are selling their products by pushing the cart. Pushcart vendors, they are known as. Street cobblers are there. They are actually making shoes, chappals, everything they repair and prepare also. So women who string flowers, rack pickers, vendors and beggars are some examples of poor and vulnerable groups in urban areas. In urban areas, all these actually, some women they string flowers, then some vendors, some people, and you know, some people collect scrap and everything, and some beggars are there. All these we generally consider them as a poor people. Of course, some are making money by stringing flowers, and some vendors, some street cobblers, they are also making money. But generally what we are doing, generally sometimes what we do, we count them as a poor people. Okay, so the poor people possess few assets and reside in kacha hutments with walls made of bark and roof made of grass, thatch, bamboo and wood, etc. Poor people generally they live in a small house, that is not in a paka house, kacha house we say. Their house, their houses don't have proper wall or proper roof, etc. Okay, so generally we consider them poor people. You can see some people are living in slums like that areas, or even in the villages you see such type of houses. Okay, in rural areas, in thatch, bamboo and wood houses, the poorest of them do not even have such dwellings. Some poor people, they do not have any houses at all. Okay, So our government already started some schemes. Our government, India government and the state government also jointly they are providing houses nowadays. You can check all these details. Okay, even you can search in Google about this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, something like that. You can search. Okay, the houses for poor people. You can search about it. Then in rural areas, many of them are landless. Of course, in rural areas. There are many landless people, many are not having lands, okay, they are not even not having houses and no lands also, they don't have land. Even if some of them possess land, it is only dry or wasteland. Some are having land, but they are not having houses in it. Many do not get to have even 2 meals a day. Many people are not having 2 meals in a day. Of course, generally what we do, we take 3 times breakfast, at least breakfast, lunch and dinner, okay, but in between also some snacks many people take, but at least we needed to take 3 times food, okay. Many are not having 1 time food and also not taking 2 times food because they do not have enough money in their hand. The employment opportunity is not there. So many people in our rural areas as well as in the cities are experiencing poverty. That is what actually you needed to understand. Starvation and hunger are the key features of the poorest households. Starving people. The hunger is there. They are hunger. So they do not have proper food. They are not taking enough food and enough time. The poor lack basic literacy and the poor people lack basic literacy and skills and hence have very limited economic opportunities. Of course, they are poor people. Poor people are illiterate people. They do not have basic skills. Skill development nowadays our Indian government started implementing skill development. So skills we wanted to teach. What are the skills? Painting, welding or electrical work, plumbing work, we also teach them. We can teach them. So many works are there like that, okay. So we wanted to train them. Nobody should sit idle. Everybody must engage with some activities, earning activities, okay. So then they can run their family well or they can manage their family better way. So that is what the government is doing. Better education we wanted to provide to our people, okay. Everyone must be literate, okay. Illiteracy and illiterate people are actually poor people and they do not have proper skills. Hence, they have very limited economic opportunities. When you don't have a proper skill, proper profession or proper training in any subject, then what will happen? You cannot earn better way. So what we wanted to learn something. We must be a literate, okay, educated person. Poor people also face unstable unemployment. If someone is not having proper skill or someone is not having proper education, then what is happening? They always face unstable employment. They cannot have proper employment opportunities or proper employment in their lives. Thank you so much. Dear students, welcome to the economics class. We were discussing about poverty. The main reason for poverty and all those things that we are going to study now, okay. So malnutrition is alarmingly high among the poor people. They are not taking any nutritious food, okay. So that there is malnutrition. So malnutrition is alarmingly high among the poor. Ill health, disability or serious illness makes them physically weak. The poor people's symptoms, actually main symptoms, all these are actually malnutrition is there, always there. Then malnutrition is alarmingly high among the poor people. Ill health is there. Disability or serious illness makes them physically weak, okay. That is actually making physically weak. Mainly poor people are having such problems because they are not getting enough food or malnutritious food. They borrow from money lenders. What they do? They take money from others. They are known as money lenders. They take money from money lenders who charge high rates of interest that lead them into chronic indebtedness. So, a lot of debt they have. They borrow money from others. So, they take money from the money lenders. So, they are in debt. The poor are highly vulnerable. They are not able to negotiate their legal wages from employers and are exploited. What is this actually? The poor people, of course, they have various issues like malnutrition is there, they are physically weak, they have illness, they have ill health, disability, they also take money from the money lenders. Another thing is that they are being exploited by employees. Most poor households have no access to electricity. Of course, there is no electricity. Nowadays, electricity available in every villages in India, but this is talking about actually 10 years before or 20 years before situation that was India. That time India was facing. Okay. So, more poverty was there at that time. Now, electricity is everywhere in India. Okay. It is available. Most poor households have no access to electricity. Their primary cooking fuel is firewood and cow dung cake. Of course, in rural areas, in villages, very extreme villages, you can see that people may not have this cylinder gas. Then mainly they are using for firewood and cow dung for cooking. Firewood and cow dung cake they use for cooking. I need not explain this. Mainly in the North Indian India, people are using this cow dung cake. In South India, of course, they are using firewood. Okay, but nowadays the cylinder is also available. Electricity is available. So this is actually, this information is from around 20 years before, I think. Okay, a large section of poor people do not have access to safe drinking water. Of course, still there is this problem is still there. So the proper drinking water is not available in everywhere in India. Of course, it might be available it may be available in the urban area, but in the especially in the villages, no clean water is available for drinking. There is evidence of extreme gender inequality in the participation of gainful employment, education and decision making within the family. In what is happening mainly in villages or rural areas, what is happening? There is unemployment is still prevailing. Unemployment is there. Okay. So another thing is actually the proper education facilities are not available. In decision making, these poor people don't have that much ability. Okay, they are actually neglected in many areas of their life. That is what actually we see here. Mainly poor people, they experience malnutrition. They don't have proper food. They are not getting proper food. Then some people are poor, ill health. They have serious illness that also make them physically weak. Okay. So another thing is that they are having debt. Whenever they want money, what they do? They don't have enough money. They don't have enough proper employment opportunities. Then what they do? They of course take money from money lenders. That also create more debt. Okay. Then they don't have proper infrastructure facilities like a proper house. They don't have health facilities. They don't have, and also they are not having proper cooking system. They don't have cooking system means they may not have proper utensils or proper way of cooking, like they are not using cylinder or electrical accessories for cooking. But what they are doing, they are doing this firewood and cow dung cake for their cooking. This is also a troubles they face every day, in their day-to-day life. All these problems they are facing. Okay, we can move on to the next point. That is, poor women receive less care on their way to motherhood. Of course, poor women, they are not getting proper nourishment or nurture when they are pregnant. Poor women receive less care on their way to motherhood. Their children are less likely to survive or be born healthy. In poor areas in South India, or of course in North India too, there are many rural areas, women are not receiving nutritious food. So, especially the pregnant women, pregnant ladies are not receiving proper care and proper nutritious food. So that what will happen, their children are less likely to survive or be born healthy. They are not healthy. Their children is not healthy. In Kerala, there is one place called Attapadi. There actually this thing is happening. This is happening. Their children, their women receive less care, and also their children are less likely to survive or be born healthy. It is happening there. Another thing is that economists identify the poor on the basis of their occupation, and that the rural poor work mainly as landless agricultural laborers, cultivators with very small land holdings, or landless laborers who are engaged in a variety of non-agricultural jobs, and tenant cultivators with small land holdings. The urban poor are largely the overflow of the rural poor who had migrated to urban areas in search of alternative employment and livelihood. Laborers who do a variety of casual jobs, and the self-employed who sell a variety of things on roadsides and are engaged in various activities. What is happening? The poor people, they don't have proper land for their cultivation. What they do? They work in others' land. Okay, so they may not get proper wages. They may not get proper wages. Then in such a situation, what is happening? Sometimes in rural areas, proper job facilities are not available, employment opportunities are not available. In such a situation, what they needed to do, they are forced to move to the urban areas. That is what the urban poor are largely to the overflow, of the rural poor. In urban cities, what is happening? They move to Delhi, Mumbai, like metropolitan cities. So that is also happening. They wanted to find employment opportunities for their day-to-day livelihood. Laborers who do a variety of casual jobs, and the self-employed who sell a variety of things on roadsides and are engaged in various activities. What they do, if they do not find proper job or employment opportunities, then what they do, they may start finding some other way. How? They may do a variety of casual jobs, and the self-employment they search, who sell mainly what they do, they can sell variety of things on roadsides and are engaged in various activities. Some chota mota kaam karte rahega. They do very simple manual jobs. That is what their expertise they are not using properly. That is what actually mainly the urban people are facing the troubles. The main reason is that they don't have proper employment opportunities in villages, rural areas, so that they move to the urban areas. Urban means city, urban areas or metropolitan cities. So they move for their livelihood. Okay, that is what actually they wanted to earn. They wanted to run their family, and they have a responsibility. They also wanted to give better education to their children. They wanted to give food to their family. So from where it will come? They are not having proper education. They are not having proper system. They are not having proper skill. So many troubles they have. So for that, what they do? They move to other places to find some job. So mainly the illiterate people cannot find good job. So that what they do some roadside selling. They sell vendors. They move rickshaw pullers. Something like that they do. They do such type of work to run their family. So unemployment is the main reason. That is why the government started so many projects in India. The government started skill development, etc. nowadays, so that so many people are getting a lot of job opportunities. Okay, we can move on to the next point. How are poor people identified? How do we identify poor people? If India is to solve the problem of poverty, it has to find a viable and sustainable strategies to address the causes of poverty and design schemes to help the poor out of their situation. Of course, we wanted to identify the poor people, and we wanted to solve their issues. Solve their issues means we wanted to eradicate the poverty. In order to eradicate the poverty, we wanted to create employment opportunities, and also we wanted to give proper education, skill-based education. However, for these schemes to be implemented, the government needs to be able to identify who the poor are. For this, there is needed to develop a scale to measure poverty, and the factors that make up the criteria for this measurement or mechanism needed to be carefully chosen. So, the government wanted to identify that who are poor. Okay. So, what are the measurement for identifying these poor people? That also the government needed to set. So, of course, there is poverty existing in our country. The major people are actually, more people are under poverty line in India. So, we wanted to eradicate the poverty. In order to that, the government needed to develop new strategies and implement proper system in India. So, that is why we needed to provide proper job opportunity, employment opportunity. Then the government needed to develop skill-based education. I think recently the government have already started giving such type of education. Okay. So gradually we are actually eradicating the poverty from our country. So government is supporting, and also the financial institutions are supporting very much in India. Okay. So the poverty we wanted to remove from our country, or poverty eradication must take place. It will happen only when we plan our economy properly. Okay. We needed to implement proper strategies in order to eradicate the poverty. So we can move on to the next point. So dear students, actually we are studying about the poverty, the situation what our country is facing. Lot of poor people are there. We want to implement proper education for that actually. In pre-independent India means, you know, that after gaining freedom, we got freedom in 1947. After that, Dadabhai Naoroji was the first, the one who first discussed the concept of poverty line. He was the one first discussed about the poverty line. He used the menu for a prisoner and used appropriate prevailing prices to arrive what may be called jail cost of living. Jail cost of living. You know that there were many people that time lived in the jail. You know, culprits, of course, okay, wrong misdoers or wrongdoers, miscreants people, and the culprits live in jail. However, only adults stay in jail, whereas, you know, mainly adults only living in jail. Of course, poor, you know, children also make crime, but more actually, majority is actually from the adults. Okay. So in an actual society, there are children too. He therefore appropriately adjusted this cost of living to arrive at the poverty line. So the poverty line derived from the jail cost of living. That is what actually. Okay. Here from this point actually, Dadabhai Naoroji made poverty line. That is the main point here on this page. Now we can move. For this adjustment, he has assumed that 1/3 population consists of children and half of them consumed very little, while the other half consumed half of the adult diet. This is how he arrived at the factor of 3/4. How he arrived at the 3/4. That is what actually. So like this, for this adjustment he assumed that 1/3 population consisted of children and half of them consumed very little, while the other half consumed half of the adult diet. This is how he arrived at the factor of 3/4. Here you are 1/6 nil plus 1/6 half plus and 2/3 full is equal to 3/4 full. That is how he arrived here. The weighted average of consumption of the 3 segments, these are the 3 segments, he divided this, the consumption of food actually he divided like this actually. The weighted average of consumption of the three segments gives the average poverty line, which comes out to be 3/4 of the adult child cost of living. That is what actually, okay. So he identified how to make poverty line, the measurement of poverty line he identified, and by that he measured the poverty in India. That is what actually we needed to understand from this page, okay. So more people are taking food, how many people are taking food, also how many people are taking one time foods, two time food, also the adults how much food they are taking, then the children how much food they are making, all these they studied properly, okay. That's all. Now we can move on to the next point. In post-independent India, there have been several attempts to work out a mechanism to identify the number of poor in the country. For instance, what happened in post-independent India, there have been several attempts to work out a mechanism to identify the number of poor in the country. For instance, in 1962, what happened? The Planning Commission, nowadays Planning Commission is known as Niti Aayog. Before it was Planning Commission. Now it is known as Niti Aayog. The Planning Commission, now called as Niti Aayog, formed a study group. In 1979, another body called the Task Force on Projections of Minimum Needs and Effective Consumption Demand. All these things you need to understand. Okay, what happened? In 1979, another body called the Task Force on Projections of Minimum Needs and Effective Consumption Demand was formed. In 1989 and 2005, expert groups were constituted for the same purpose. Besides the Planning Commission, many individual economists have also attempted to develop such a mechanism. Yes, of course. After gaining freedom in 1947, what happened? Our Indian government studied poverty very well. So the Indian government made so many projects and programs and mission for the ultimate eradication of poverty. Still poverty is existing in our country, that is another topic, another matter. So, but our government is doing good work. Of course, we are actually almost, we are going to be eradicate the poverty 100%. Okay, it will happen. So, the Niti Aayog formed also, nowadays it is known as Niti Aayog. Nowadays what is happening, our government after gaining freedom, our government was focusing on food production. Of course, we need food, otherwise the poverty will exist, famine will exist, okay, more poor people will be here, and the proper planning may not take place if there is food scarcity, okay. So our government was trying to eradicate poverty, therefore they planned so many projects, mainly 5-year plans it was aiming. Okay, so they studied about the consumption of food. So how to generate more food, high yield variety of seeds, promotion they did, the government did, then agricultural promotion they did, then industrial promotion they did, so many job opportunities they created, the government created in our economy. For what they did, the basic need was to remove the poverty. Of course, the government did so many changes. So you can also study this actually. So the Planning Commission wants to remove the poverty from our country. Nowadays, Planning Commission is known as Niti Aayog. So time to time they have studied about poverty. They studied about economic growth. They also studied about in the field of education. They also studied about science and technology. So many changes they are making nowadays. Okay. So the ultimate goal of our Planning Commission is to remove poverty. Of course, any economy, if it is any economy, their ultimate aim is to remove poverty from their country. That is what. Now we can move on to the next point. For the purpose of defining poverty, we divide people into two categories, the poor and the non-poor, and the poverty line separates the two. There is a poverty line, we create a poverty line. Of course, the poverty line, if you Just imagine this is poverty line, then some people are above this, some people are under this. So, under poverty line and above poverty line is there. Okay. So, the poverty line separates the two. However, there are many kinds of poor, many different types of poor people are living in our country. The absolutely poor people, total completely 100% poor. Okay. The very poor, again the extreme poor is there. Okay. We can say some are poor, one time food they are making, some are extreme poor, 100% poor. Then and the poor, some people are simple poor. So many things are there to understand about this poverty. Poor people are there, very poor people are there, and the poor people are there. Similarly, there are various kinds of non-poor people, middle class people are there, upper class people are there, so many, then rich people are there, the very rich people are there, and absolutely wealthy rich people are there. India is a vast country, so every sector is available here. Okay, the every different categories of people are available here when we compare or when we study about poverty. Various levels are there, various segments are available in our country. So we discussed so many sectors like that actually. Poor, very poor, then the middle class, then non-poor people are there, the upper middle class is here, the rich is here, the very rich class is there, the absolutely rich people are here. So many sections are available in our country. The government wanted to support all these people. The first of all, the very poor people we wanted to uplift, we wanted to bring changes in their lives. Okay, so that is why Indian government is planning so many strategies, planning so many projects in our country like 5-year plans, etc., and industrialization. The privatization our government introduced because of what? Because of more employment opportunities we wanted to create in our country. Then liberalization our government introduced, the new economic policy in 1991 our government introduced, and globalization our country introduced. Everything why the government did it? Only because of the upliftment of this country. When the country get development, then poverty eradication will happen naturally and automatically. That is what actually. Okay, so think of this as a line of continuum from the very poor to the absolutely rich, which with the poverty line dividing the poor from the non-poor. Okay, so there are various kinds of poor people are living, the various sectors are living here in our country. Of course, you understood that poor people are in different levels, we can measure them in various levels. Even the rich people are also the non-poor people are there, middle class people are there, above middle class is there, then also the rich is there, very rich is there, absolutely rich people are there. So many people are living in our country. Of course, our government is working for the welfare of the very poor people as well as the all other categories. Okay, different categories are here. So the government cannot actually say we are not for other people, we are for these people. The government cannot say. So everybody's welfare government wants to do. The country's overall development the government wants to do. That is why poverty eradication is very important. The basic amenities our government wanted to provide to its people.